Hello, everyone. Today we've got Jeet with us, who's the founder of Atomic Ads. Atomic Ads are pushing the boundaries of what's possible using AI in the ad ops and ad tech space. So for anyone interested in how AI is shaping our industry, this one's definitely for you. So Jeet, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on.
Gareth, thank you so much for having me and giving a chance for talking about Atomic Ads.
No problem. Excited to have this chat. So you've had the questions up front, so hopefully you're a little bit prepared. So we can just dive straight in. Why don't you go ahead and just tell us a bit about your business and what you do within the company?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO at Atomic Ads, and what we are doing is bringing automation and intelligence at the forefront of media buying teams so that they can really, really focus on automating most of this particular workflow, which they are doing manually during the whole campaign lifecycle process. Bring automation, so remove time and focus on what really, really matters from them to drive the performance for the customers, where the creative bits and the strategy bits comes in the fun part of the work, which is not happening right now. And I think the biggest lever we can pull with the changes happening in the AI world is bring the AI to bring this particular automation, the fingerprint, make it better, faster, and cheaper. Like that's where we are, I think, focusing on at Atomic Ads. And yeah, I'm responsible for all the good things and the bad things. That's just the founder job.
Definitely. I think there's been a trend towards automation in our industry for a while, pre even sort of the LLMs and all of that sort of stuff. But it's exciting looking through your platform because it seems that you're taking the next step and bringing in automation from at every level in the campaign lifecycle, which is really quite exciting, rather
Yeah.
than maybe
So what
just the
we
optimization side of things.
one line pitch to customer is automate digital media buying at speed of thought. It's really, really where we want to head to. And the way we are designed, the whole thing is like really connected workflow, talking to the LLM agents, just really give your instruction and just wait to see the things happening, and make sure and we are like also bringing this philosophical principle of human in the driving seat. So it's not right where agents are doing everything, but you are in the control of designing the compliances, building the guardrail, which is very important ethical consideration and the guardrail consideration, where humans are like really going to be driving things and thriving in where their strength lies, and use the use of technology to eliminate this particular friction which exists in the whole campaign lifecycle process.
Definitely. You named a few things there that you have in the platform, but what additional features do you have, and what are the key features that make Atomic Ads really stand out? Then,
Yes. So what we have is when we speak about campaign lifecycle, we start with really high level on the planning and the strategy bit of stuff like that. But when you start touching the platform for executing this particular campaign, you set up the campaign, you make sure the quality assurance is there, you make sure the naming conventions are perfectly placed in the taxonomy perspective. Then you do the monitoring and alerting, and then you have this whole optimization play where, okay, this is my goals and KPI I want to optimize, and then reporting and insights are part of the process. And this whole cycle repeats. And if you are working on the kind of brief by brief approach, it's every time a new campaign comes in and you have to repeat this particular process. So our platform touch upon each and every aspect of this whole campaign lifecycle, including the campaign design. So you can now talk to the LLM, give the compliance standard which you really want to from your quality assurance process standpoint. We have released lots of blogs about what the really good quality assurance process looks like, how can you really automate that stuff. Is all available for free, right? But implementing is where the really, really hard part of stuff. It requires lots of engineering bandwidth, intense testing and all, because you need to have this kind of guardrails and compliance, which is very humans are really, really good at it. So how do we like our platform just take this particular instructions, and once you set this particular compliances instruction there, you entire life cycle, including creation, quality assurance, naming conventions, like it's such a small part of the process, but data nation, the quality of data is directly linked to the amount of things you can do in the AI world. And this is where the big bottlenecks is coming in. It's just not about having the best LLMs or like really fancy tool out there. It doesn't really work like magic until you have the data foundation in place. Where the hard work is happening is where we have invested lots of time and effort and build this particular system, build a really fast way to have a really good data quality in place. And then you can see the magic happening, where you're taking, say, all this particular task and optimization is, so we are all here to drive performance for our customers. That's the final outcome. We want to do that. But let's be frank, in the media teams, how much percentage of time is happening on this most core element there? You will be surprised that not maybe 10-20%. Sometimes people don't even have time for like really doing this particular stuff. And once we eliminate this particular friction, people focus on, all right, let's bring this new strategy, this new experimentation, this new audience testing and trial, and then lots of flywheel effect will start happening. So the way we have designed it, we just talk to the LLM, give the instruction, make sure the data qualities are perfect, and then you are eliminating all this particular friction process, focusing on what matters the most.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot on this podcast the importance of data quality. Especially when obviously you're dealing with vast amounts of it, and when you're applying AI and machine learning. Yeah, we've had other guests, bring that up, and it's obviously a really important point for AdOps teams. And you mentioned that. Sorry, go on.
I will quickly add upon the fundamental things you're talking about the industries. Extremely important point, right? And to just bring people attention on this particular part of, oh, AI is a magical technology. We have been living in this all technology evolutions from last 100 years since the day of electricity, then, Ford happens, mechanical, automobile, then mobile, internet, and now this AI aspect is the most incredible technology out there. But it's as good as there are three core pillars in the AI race where compute, how good you are on the compute side of stuff, and you can buy this element, how good an algorithmic capability you can build up. It's also about like talent perspective. But the third part, data quality, is where the businesses have an edge because you're sitting on vast amount of information from your campaigns. If you're a brand or if you're an agency, you are like looking at the broader perspective, and it can be utilized for the edge which you're gonna have in this new world we're gonna live in, right? So having the data quality is a kind of a third pillar, which is important, and there is no magic bullet to that. You have to go through the process of making it right labels, having the right foundation in place, making sure the team is following this particular smallest things like naming convention, because DSPs and the platform are dumb pipes or like, really smart algorithm, but they don't understand what it really mean. And then we define that, right? So is where you see the industry is talking about it, and important consideration for any businesses want to move towards faster AI adoption.
Definitely. I mean, you're not going to have, it's going to be very hard for companies to have a competitive edge in, for example, the LLM space. You're not going to be building your own LLM necessarily. And yeah, obviously machine learning, but ultimately in machine learning and algorithm application in our industry, it does come down to quality of data as well, doesn't it? If you effectively data is your edge there, not necessarily the algorithm that you're building. It's how you're bringing in data and then using it to optimize it. So therefore, obviously, the quality is really important. So it comes down to seemingly that in our industry, rather than obviously adoption is important, but then having your data quality there is probably going to be the edge for companies like us.
Yes, absolutely right.
Definitely. Cool. So obviously you guys are at the forefront. Like I said, I've seen your tech, so your platform. It's really, really cool. So you guys are sort of at the forefront of ad tech. I mean, how are you driving innovation right now?
So for us, the innovation are twofold thing where how do we really currently see the current way of doing things and bring like a really magical way of improving and figuring things out from just not say automation perspective, which is a direct impact. The biggest application we can show to the customer right now is there is a better way of doing things, and once you do that, it's very contagious, it's very addictive of like, you know, before mobile, we were there was no Meta, Instagram, stuff like that. But this happens now. You can't like stay away from it, right? It's this whole new world altogether, which have a psychological change and things like that. So how do we take the current way of doing things and bring you a magical experience? That's something which we deeply think and focus upon. And the second aspect, which happens that once we really prove you the utility right away from the automation perspective, the intelligence bit, which is extremely important in the advertising world. We are living in a world where the velocity of impressions coming down from any particular platform for a particular audience, which we want an advertisers to reach out, is what actually in nutshell we're trying to do, right? Like advertising is a distribution of your messaging to the relevant audience. It's a very high level element, but it's extremely complex when it comes to the execution part. And there are billions of impression out there, which one to select, where to buy, and all required enormous amount of intelligence coming in. So once we solve the problem of giving people time back, how do we really improve their decision making capability on each and every impression level? So we are talking about millions of dollars of budget, but it's all comes down to one impression at a time, right? So how do we take this particular automation time frame which we brought in and then focus on bringing the intelligence on cross-platform world, then search. And this one of the beauty of our platform is that you don't have to have 10 different platforms, which is really good on programmatic or research and social and any particular platform. Tomorrow, becoming AI native networks are coming up with new channels. Audio, CTV are like kind of becoming like big mainstream element. Everybody is focusing on that. The world is going to be always bringing new way of channels and connections. Today morning, Meta Mark Zuckerberg comes on the Meta stage wearing the glasses, having the whole phone setup in there. It's like really cool, right? Like we are talking about AR and VR. So the channels are not going away. All we have to be extremely smart and ready to bring any particular new channels where our customers' audience will be sitting and then use our own platform to drive this one decision at a time, one impression at a time kind of a thing. So this is where we are focusing from the innovation perspective. Uh, Automation is one aspect of stuff, and the intelligence is the other aspect of stuff. And there is a 90% chance we as a business going to fail because we are trying to solve, which never solved before, a kind of an autonomous engine which work and sit across this particular platform. And we are extremely ambitious, and our customers are already seeing the value right away. So that's where we are like pushing the boundaries, and we are working extremely hard for.
Yeah, I think one of the immediate things that I noticed is that you guys solve some of the fragmentation that's in the media industry, which we've discussed a lot on this podcast as well. As more and more channels come in, more and more streaming apps, even more and more DSPs, more and more ways to track attention metrics, etc., etc. Obviously, there's a big fragmentation, and a big part of obviously what we do is sort of pulling that all together. But technologies like yours sort of go some way to at least centralizing it a little bit so that we can be more efficient in what we do. So that's great. So how do you think AI is going to change the media industry? I mean, you've mentioned a few ways there, but more broadly, how do you think it's going to change the media and ad tech industry over the next few years?
There is lots of interesting things happening. If we look at the whole broader spectrum in the bullseye way, the platform, search, and socials are pushing and building their own kind of an autonomous campaigns algorithms, which is like reality. Google have Max, you have the Advantage Plus, then TV, CTVs as well, like pushing Kokai and like different kind of a way of as much automation possible. And it's a kind of a trend which is good direction. But if you are not careful as a customer using this particular algo, these are money hungry algorithm, you know, and they are making really good smart decisions, but not necessarily all the time. They are thinking from the customer lenses standpoint, right? So you have to have something better from understanding and control this algorithms and bring some interesting play in your media buying decision making aspect of stuff. But at the same time, what we also see that the whole open web world, DSPs are trying to become an SSPs, SSPs trying to become DSPs, I feel there is a lot of changes gonna happen because the beauty of AI now is that you can do a page level contextual decision making. Like companies like Mobian, Scope 3 are doing really interesting work in this particular space. That there is a whole creative technology world where Rimbrand, this merged with tech and the creative tech with Runway, Midjourney already like uh, disrupting the industry. Google did a pixel campaign with S4 Capital where 65% of the whole media production line work was automated. Instead of 3 months, they did it in 3 weeks cheaper. And the Google paid agency for the agent they use, not the people. So you see the disruptions happening across the industry in the platform level, the way media is getting consuming, at the same time business model level, right? So here where we require a really new kind of a mindset and so much shift is happening, you have to be extremely agile and smart and forefront of rather than fighting the change where you are like, like swimming against the current versus go with the current and figure out how to flow with it, right? Is where I feel lots of interesting things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we were just exploring some of that tech ourselves, actually, especially on the creative production side. You mentioned Midjourney, I think there. Tools like that are really interesting. Where that's going and where that's headed. You can see a place where, creative can be made at literally with a prompt, right? And rather than however many hours of creative time and agency production. So yes, it's really exciting. Obviously, the tech isn't there yet, right? Like you have to be honest, looking at what they've got, and you wonder, will it get there? You expect it will, but yeah, it's exciting to watch it unfold. Very cool. So
So just to add one interesting point on that particular perspective is like if you look at any technology evolution for that matter, the initial new technologies are always costly and takes time and doesn't work most of the time. But they improve very fast in a very small period of time. You look at internet, you look at mobile, and you look at cloud, and you look at AI right now. In the AI world, the speed of change is much faster. So improvement is much faster. So all is where we are looking at is wait. And if you wait, you're sleepwalking in the most disastrous place. If you're an agency or an advisor and not using this new system, you're gonna lose on the competitive edge. And it's all about like that 6 month, 1 year gap in terms of adapting to technology or doing the things the old way, right? Like because I'm as a business going to be get more competitive, I can reduce my cost of execution on the media. I can improve the outcome. And if I go and tell the brand that don't pay me 5% of media fees, I'm going to charge you just like a 10,000 baht and drive better 10x better outcome than the, what current system you're using is, what the advertiser going to do? Is where shifts are happening. And we ourselves, when we deploy the platform, it takes like 1 2 days of like adoption, and it's more about behavior change. But once that you use, the teams which are spending like 2 3 hours doing all this particular manual work, the setup, campaign creation, call defense, taxonomy, monitoring, alerting, now they're able to do it in 10 minutes. Just imagine like shipping the campaign to monitor everything in like 10 minutes from 3 hours. Massive gain.
yeah, definitely. I think obviously for agencies, then it becomes a case of, what do you do with that time given back? Is it a case of you can add value to the client in other ways, like you said, through strategy that maybe the AI can't do yet, or other services that you can offer the clients to sort of make up for that, because you're effectively being given time back, and it's obviously a value add for you, and you can sort of pass that on to the client then. Brilliant. So it's interesting. You're helping people apply AI to their ad ops, but how are you implementing AI in your business? And obviously you're doing it for clients, but are you seeing results like internally from your processes?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. So, what we as a company is thinking across, so we started like really solving problem hands-on with the customer, understanding what's happening, and then like what is missing in terms of deploying this particular AI bit and stuff, right? So we went on the front end, and that's we translated in the kind of a platform building around things. So understanding the data foundation part is was very critical for us specifically when we are dealing with pretty much all channels possible on the digital world, right? So how do we really summarize this, transform this particular information, do that particular training with much faster than anybody else, right? Like it's a kind of a place where we work on really hard. And then the other aspect of like our engineering production capacity. So we were able to ship so much of the tech which you have seen and lots of our customers see is like unparalleled in terms of what would have possible 3 years ago. We will have to have like say 50 people team to get to that stage where we are in. But we got like there because we are like the sharpest mind. We are top 0.1% talent on the globe. That's the bar. And then we use mix with in terms of our uh, cursor is really incredible. Then you have like Anthropic agent coming in, releasing it out. It's like focus on the engineering productivity, the kind of tooling work which is required there. There's lots of things there where companies like Cursor, even GPTs, Anthropic have solved. Like, so you are using this particular new way of doing things and applying in your different line of division. Even our GTM now, where we are using lots of really amazing software, how we see Play, like becoming again, $1 billion company with the pivots and stuff like that. So what we really see is that we want to be very close to our customers' problems, where the focus area around automation and intelligence on the decision making on the console is there. And in order to get there across all the function, wherever we get like a leverage from the AI perspective, we're thinking that, we are thinking we have retrained and repurposed our people as well. We have only one person leading like divisions or the aspect of how do we all deliver. So there is a big kind of cultural transformation and mindset which we have gone through and deploy the kind of right people who can use this whole new AI native tools and technology as well to bring leverage in terms of our productivity gains.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you're enabled to do that because you're using the new AI tools such as Cursor, right?
Yes, Cursor, then Clay, you have a bunch of other GPT Anthropic agents as well, right? So there are different tools which you have done from different automations. Zapier is incredible, you know, and Atomic Ad is like really one of the inspiration we have is Zapier. They connect 800 application and the most brilliant team, the way they have experience and design. Now you can do so much, and now to ship faster prototypes. Sometimes like customer is like, oh, you know what? This is what we want to create. We want to see stuff like that. We within a call, we create prototypes. Isn't it like incredible? Like, okay, this is what you want because people understand much better when they see things, how and or like just spend time interacting with it. So our philosophy is like, all right, like ship really fast. What's the first way shipping fast? If I go and build a prototype in 2 weeks time, the time is gone. Like, and there's 90% chances the customer not going to buy it or the timing is not right. That's what we see as a startup people. That's the truth. So we have to be extremely fast and agile, and at the same time like productive. So we do all this particular really interesting way to interact and bring this and use this particular technology. Lovable is great. Like you can uh, build working prototype and functions using just Lovable.
I was going to say I've heard bad things about Livable, but the reviews are
Yeah,
mixed. I think
but
it's people
as
probably
I
with
said,
higher
like I'm not talking about
expectations.
production, right? Production. You are absolutely right. So production is that's fair. Production is tricky, is very tricky. But prototyping, just like in a building and UI, you have Vercel as well. Really good on like UI. Oh, I need this stuff. We have one customer who used this, like, and just imagine this was a VP of trading, no trading inside out, really brilliant person, sitting a $1 billion managing $1 billion spends and all. He come in and say, open up things like UI and say, oh, I built this on Versus. This is something like this I want. I was like, wow, this is the best customer we can ask for, right? Like, just imagine the democratization happening in the non-engineering, non-product people and function able to just express what they mean with the help of technology. I think that's very amazing. Of course, there is a challenges on the production side of things, and you have to be extremely careful on that. Is where the hard work happens, right? So it's a two-way sword if you not use it right.
Definitely. I mean, do you worry that at some point it'll just be a case of, obviously at the moment it's sort of us talking to you, you going building a piece of software, coming back, and then, that meets the needs or it doesn't, and you sort of change it. Do you see a day where effectively, like you say, the training director there, where he's just talking to the computer and saying, yeah, there'll be, this a version of Atomic Ads. Could you see that happening?
Mhm. It's a far fetch, exactly. Like, so in the theoretical reality, answer is yes. However, it's extremely hard. And the bar to create companies and the startups or building something which is valuable or specifically valuable as valuable, like OpenAI is the fastest growing company in the history of humanity, and it was not, it never happened this fast. The companies have grew this much, or Cursor for that matter, and stuff like that. But the bar to build the next Cursor, or build like OpenAI, or build like kind of a transformative company is getting higher and higher and higher. So you have to have like a lots of incredible technology interacting with each other, specifically in that tech world as well, to come together, glue together, and you will be surprised that we find bugs in Google's and TTD's APIs and like Meta APIs and all. It's like extremely frustrating part of stuff. And we have to go and tell them, oh, no, this is not working. There is a mail chain going on for 1 month where the Amazon new API on ads is not working. And they couldn't solve that stuff. So you need like humans to come together, to, of course, like understand the issue and solve it out. And then what else you can do, right? What is magical value from this standpoint? So understanding the humanity, and specifically with this changing time, has become like more valuable resources. But the bar is getting really, really high. That's definitely the case. 95% of the AI projects are failing right now. That's the MIT study comes out of stuff. So when you are shifting the trends and tides, you will see both the extreme cases are true, and at the same time, you can argue this is not possible. This is the world we are living in.
Yeah, yeah, really excited for that. It's interesting how you mentioned about Amazon Ads API and that there was a bug and that's an ongoing mail chain, and you've obviously got a lot of human effort going into that, and that's from a company that is a tech company, prides itself on automation, has its own LLMs and models, etc. I mean, could you foresee again? Could you see yeah, and they're still reliant on email and you guys finding the bugs. It's quite interesting because again, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be companies like that, and they're clearly nowhere near there yet, right? And you couldn't get to a point where, for example, maybe you had AIs looking for bugs proactively. I don't know if those sorts of technologies exist, but then you could imagine that they might be able to refine and refine and refine and to get to a point where there are no more bugs in the API and then it's all sort of AI written. That'd be really interesting. But my experience of things is it's the last 5%, right? AI gets you 95% of the way there, especially with things like coding and technology. And but you still need and you will always need a human for that last 5%, as far as I can tell. It'd be interesting to see if they do get to a point where that's not the case. And that 5% is where all the
Yeah,
cost is
humans,
anyway, right? Like,
humans are human. That's the most effective path. Rest of the things are like commoditized pretty much. You see, AI is not yet there to ask and produce new questions, a new way of thinking. Is where I think humans have this natural ability. Specifically, if you look at the robotics, and it's not we are thinking about AI in the context of software and AI and stuff. There's really amazing thing happening in the software world as well. Like, now I go in Austin or like, SF, Waymo, selfless drive is the highest taken drive there. That's the real application of AI right there, cheaper and better and safer. What else you want? Like, come on. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do something else with my life. Of course, there's a shift gonna happen in the labor economy due to that, but that's the transition humanity have gone through again and again and proven that we can find something else to do. So that 5% is more and more critical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Waymo because I love this stuff. And then obviously it seems like only I mean it was only 10, 15 years ago that Uber really took off. And suddenly that was a thing, and then everybody became an Uber driver, and now they're already being replaced. It's 10, 15 year cycles is absolutely
Exactly. The change of the rate is there. And yeah, I remember back in time, I had like a date I wanted to go on and Uber launch in India, Bangalore, 2014 around, and they were like, giving limos, like luxury limos. And I had a coupon code and I got like a limo on my first date. I was like, wow, thank you, Uber. The relationship didn't work
nice.
out, but I remember the night.
Can Waymo do limos yet? That's probably the next level.
That would be like costly for them. They can do, of course, but how many people gonna do it, right? So, Waymo is really good to get A to B cheaper, faster, safer.
Very cool, very cool. Cool. So moving on, outside of AI, what are the trends you're seeing in the ad tech space? Because we talk a lot about AI, but are you seeing any of the trends? Obviously, people talk about CTV.
Yeah, I think the one big one, of course, there is lots of trends from channel perspective, but this whole SSPs are trying to get the ad dollars is a very interesting one, and something to look out for. Because if you look at the whole demand side, supply side equation is really closer to the consumer signals, which advertisers are hungry for. If you want to, which is the most ideal places, right time, right person, at right cost. If you want to build this particular equation, the signaling of data is extremely crucial part of stuff. In Holland Gardens, you have lots of guardrails. In open web is like is innovation frontier, right? Back in time, in MIT days, I think we were like really using the whole bitstream information at the most granular possible. It was magical, to work on those kind of level of scale of the data, like where we have seen pretty much all of open web is where SSPs have the leverage. And now they are like trying to use that particular aspect and going direct, and you have lots of with the AI part of stuff, publishers have the capability to, just have a deal quickly, faster, and like, what the audience you want, right? That particular trend in the open web context is really good. And like smart connected TV and having capabilities for the SMBs, which are like, everybody gets saturated after a point in time of point in time Google ads and Meta and stuff like that. So having capabilities to go and expand on audio, digital out of home is I think a really incredible capability to be on Fortune 1000 market, right? Where you don't have to have that much of creative brain power, like brand power. And this is something a personal pain point for me as well. And before starting up and coming back in Netflix, my first venture was in organic food company in the brand. And I had like no clue. I went just advertising to agriculture, started building a brand, had no idea like how it all happened. And the creative part is extremely costly for the new companies. They are like, have to find the right kind of people and it's like, the packaging, the creative world and all. So if I have something which is help me create something really quick and fast and take this particular message to the customer across all these particular channels, I'm increasing the probability of success for the new companies or the new brands or the brands who are like doing it currently in a more efficient manner. I think there's lots of, I'm really excited about this whole space.
Very good, very good. Yeah, similar to what other people have said in terms of the movement towards the supply side and the increase in CTV and other formats coming into programmatic. Very cool. So, in terms of Atomic Ads, then, what's coming up for the rest of 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, so we've been building it for 1 year, last 6 months, where we have like, customers and the customer base is like growing like wildfire, which is really good place to be in. And something we were like now focusing on our experiences, specifically the whole onboarding experiences, making it super easy and smart to make people understand about the new way of doing things is where like the behavior change is happening on the platform, right? So the platform is as good as the people using it. It's like you give someone an AK-47 or a kind of a rifle for taking an Olympic shot, right? Like everybody is good and competitive, but there is the best guy who uses it the best way possible and like figure things out. So we see in our customer base as well, there's like people who are becoming super user and they are like, you're giving a Marvel superhero a superpower. they are like, we're just gonna nail this particular part of stuff. So having this particular interesting user behavior and dynamics in the context of the platform and adapting the platform in a manner which is super easy for user to adapt is where we are like, extremely focused on next 3 to 5 months.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about super users. Yeah, I think that's a common phrase in tech, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. So yes, I think we're just going to round up the podcast with some quick fire questions. So
Okay.
first of all, who's your favorite brand in the media slash ad tech space apart from your business, obviously?
I really admire Disney. And it goes back to my childhood memory of like, Mickey Mouse and watching Mickey Mouse and just waiting for Mickey Mouse to come on the TV 10 o'clock. And, so that's the creative part. But they, as a brand, have evolved and stay relevant after like long period of time. They have now a picture, really amazing in animation. But at the same time, they're really, really good on technology as well because they have amazing distribution, amazing great content is what I think you need for survival as a media brand. But they have like really reinvented themselves time and time again. And Bob Iger, who happened to be like a very long-standing CEO, have done an incredible job, right? I like his book, which was really incredible to read and understand how this brand at this scale like keep reinventing the wheel, stay relevant, and still produce some of the most amazing content on the planet. So, I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch what they've done in the streaming space, and I know they're getting much bigger in terms of CTV. A lot of clients asking for them in campaigns. Very cool. So, in terms of an individual in the space you'd like to give a shout out to, and why?
Yeah, so I am really inspired by Rishabh Tebekwala, who happened to be advertising Hall of Fame. He's like a strategy guy from Publicis, but he has recently done some incredible publishing work. He is kind of a leader who is always speaking of truth. And that's very rare in this whole media world. Feel people, you give them like a 3 drinks, they speak the heart out, but it's extremely hard for them to speak their mind and talk really openly, which are needed to be spoken about. Specifically, this kind of a changing time we're living in. What I feel is like leadership is more valuable than ever, being agile, being adaptable, and focusing on doing the right thing extremely hard traits of the leaders. He talks about this particular aspect a lot. He talks about the way the work, mode of work is going to change. He have published his book recently about rethinking work, really incredible book. And I happened to meet him and had a kind of a one-on-one on AdTech Economic Forum, which happened in New York. And he was like a public, he talked about uh, he like wrote an essay about immigrants, like why immigrants are really think like an underdog and always thinking about the future, the survival part of stuff, right? It's very ingredient, and that's the kind of similar philosophy you need to have from an organization standpoint, right? Because you're living in a very changing time, and you have to adapt and figure out the way to that, right? So it's been really inspiring from that particular aspect from the thought leadership standpoint and speaking with courage and at the same time like humanity, right? Like the empathy aspect of thinking from the people perspective. If you look at brands and organizations telling that they trust their people and then everybody is putting a mandate of get back to work, is a very contradictory aspect of things, So he is a great thought leader in that regard.
Very good, very good. And lastly, the number one lesson learned since starting in the industry.
Never get excited after a good demo. The road is long. Then if you get the deal done, it's not done. So, that's something which I feel every founders go through. But yeah, it's been really good learning on that regard.
Yeah, or a good pitch, I guess it's the same deal, right?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Fantastic, Jeet. Great to have you on. Some really interesting stuff there, especially around AI. And we'll be following Atomic Ads to see progress, and looking forward to what you're building, to seeing what you're building there.
Yes, our next release is going to be a campaign creation agent where we're gonna make it like a free for the industry. Just come there and build your campaigns with the agents, right? Like a very new way of doing interesting things. So, yeah, just few months away.
That's amazing and scary at the same time. So, Jeet, thanks very much.
Thank you, Gareth, for having us.